Thank you for being here. I'm so excited for episode 65 with the lovely Wendy Hutchinson. Hi, Wendy.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Yay, I'm so happy to connect. I love, this is my most favorite part of hosting a podcast is being able to reach out to people and say, hey, let's have a deep conversation. And there's a reason for this deep conversation. We're going to record it
My
and share
favorite
it
thing.
to the world. But also, I've become friends with many people that I have interviewed on here. So that's also an ulterior motive.
That's great. I love it.
So I'm happy that we've connected. And so, Wendy, I would love to know about your journey to how you got where you are. So, what was your childhood like?
My childhood was so deeply rooted in my programming, right? We're all kind of conditioned and programmed by our family dynamics, by our culture. I was raised in Hawaii in an Asian culture, Asian Hawaiian culture, and they are very much success driven. So everything that you do needs to be pure excellence, or you're considered a failure. So you start to hear things when you're growing up, like always do your best, or if you bring home an A, it's like, why wasn't it an A plus? Or, there's just this constant drive to create kid perfection. I played the piano, I did the sports, I got good grades, went to college. You're checking boxes, and then in a perfect world for Asian parents, you become a doctor or lawyer or
Right,
some very credentialed person or a CEO. There's no
right,
like,
right.
you don't aim low, you always aim high. And so, and then also I grew up Catholic. So
Mm.
you're also a sinner on top of all of that. It's great. And so you really start to foster this feeling of not enough. I'm not enough. I'm never enough. And then that's layered with like unworthiness, right? Because you're just never hitting the mark. I mean, some kids, they truly are Asian perfection. I was not. Like I did my best, but it wasn't good enough, right? And it wasn't conveyed in a mean way. It was just an unspoken and cultural expectation.
Right,
It wasn't like I was abused because I didn't get the A plus plus or wasn't valedictorian. It wasn't like that at all. It was just a subliminal and consistent messaging that really shapes who you are.
hmm,
And so that was something that I really took with me. And as I went into my adult life, I pursued all those things, right? The career, I had the penthouse apartment in my 20s. We belonged to the private club. Like we checked all those boxes. And it didn't occur to me because I was so deeply unconscious that that wasn't who I truly am, right? It was just a constant seeking of my parents' approval of meeting the societal standards and the cultural expectations.
right.
And the problem with that is you will always feel empty inside and always need to continue chasing the thing,
Hmm. Totally.
right? And so that really shaped me moving into my adult life. And then, we start to pass those programs and fear and control onto our kids. And it's just all we know, you
Right.
know. So that's
Yeah.
what my childhood was like. And then because of that, you become very codependent. You become very much attached to being, for me, it was perfectionism. So I really worked hard to have the perfect Christmas for my kids, the perfect meal. The house was I mean, it was just exhausting, right? You're just
I bet.
volunteer and you have your career and you have the kids and you walk your dogs and you look
Yeah.
great and you always have a smile and it was just like such a fraud, such a fraud. But I just couldn't embody and embrace my beauty and the
Mm.
truth of who I was. So,
Yeah.
you
That,
know, I know a lot of people could probably relate to that in different cultures, right?
Right, right. The keeping up with the Joneses, like
Yeah,
I
and I had,
felt I felt
right.
that a lot in in Lakeway when I lived in Lakeway. Just it felt like there was a lot of showy
Yeah. And
showy nature of
you live in a nice neighborhood, then it just ups the ante, right?
right, right.
You
And it just
know?
didn't feel good anymore. I had to move out of there. Not to say anything bad about that
No, no.
area.
For
There,
you, it just didn't work, right? And
yeah, for me, it just didn't feel good anymore. It just felt like there was just so much, yeah, facade, just so many masks. And I know we all put masks on to a certain extent, all in our life, but it was just like I can't see the deepness of this person because it's just
it was
everything
so,
else
right?
is
It's just
in the way.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that was difficult for me. And we also lived in a neighborhood like that where everyone just was so extremely successful, which didn't help the fact that
Yeah.
I had that program running. And so I had a very, very intense experience. And I was always an overgiver and I always denied myself. So I nurtured everyone and I just was getting more and more depleted and depleted. My soul was just dying, literally.
Hmm.
And I was standing in my dining room. This is probably around 2010. And there was a booming voice a female voice that just said, save yourself, like booming. It just sent a ripple down my entire field. No one was home. And
Wow.
I was just like, what? And who was that? Like, I was looking around, and of course, I had this instant knowing that was me. Like, that came from my soul, that I had just taken it too far. Just the self-sacrifice and the unworthiness and the service to others at my expense, that whole thing. And I had this knowing that, if I don't do something to change this, I am going to die. Like I knew that in my bones, in my soul. I am going to get cancer and die. I just knew it. And I didn't even know who I was because I was such a chameleon. I was so good at it. I could be the corporate wife, I could be the volunteer mom, I could be who my boss needed to be at work. I was just such a chameleon. I'd lost myself completely. So yeah, I had to figure out how to find my way back. And it really was just one small step at a time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was just all of a sudden your higher self, your soul just dropped in and was like, okay, it's time for you to listen.
Yeah. She shook me hard. Like
Wow.
she grabbed me by the shoulder. Like I felt a reverb, like, whoa, go down my entire field, like booming voice, like, you're gonna die.
Amazing.
If you I could feel it in
Wow. So how did that affect your family? How many kids do you have?
I had two kids. They're 18 months apart. They were in high school at the time. And I don't know, I just think you mean the shift? Like when I started
Yeah, like
to,
how did that show up in the life with your family and how did that affect them? Or how did they
well,
think it affected them?
they were almost out of high school. And so they really were in their own world. I
Yeah.
don't think they even noticed,
Hmm.
honestly. They were out with friends, they were doing their sports, they were getting ready to go to college,
Right.
and then my husband was very much a workaholic, so nobody really noticed, you know. That's the
You're
thing.
going through this big
You're going through this massive
transformation. Yeah.
change internally, and everyone's in their own orbit doing their thing.
Right.
And maybe that was good because I there was not a lens on me going through it.
Hmm.
It accelerated and got more pronounced maybe 3 or 4 years later. That's when I was really kind of put on this fast track to awaken. and remember who I am, which is why I wrote my book, right?
Yeah, your book. What's it called? The Path to Me?
It's called Finding the Path of Me,
Finding the Path of Me.
Awakening to Remembering Who I Am and Why I'm Here. And it was because I wrote that because I walked the journey alone. I didn't have a community.
Wow.
Um, a couple years after that moment in the kitchen or the dining room, we moved across country to the East Coast, to South Carolina, and I knew no one. So I didn't really have community. I had to, just by circumstance, rely on myself and my own inner knowing. And so I walked that path alone, and it was so hard. It was so hard. I had a nervous breakdown.
Wow.
After I moved, we moved like 2 months after I moved. I just started crying one day and
Hmm.
I couldn't stop crying. It was like, you know how we stuff things in and down? Well, I exceeded my capacity apparently because all of a sudden there wasn't any space anymore to bury my feelings or my needs or myself. I just had no capacity to put another thing down in this container.
Wow. It
And
overflowed. It's like,
so, yeah, yes, I just started crying and crying and crying and crying. And I guess that's what I needed. It humbled me, you know?
hmm
And that's when I really started to be on this path of self-awareness and um, connecting to my soul and listening to myself and realizing there's something trying to communicate with me. Call it whatever you want, right?
yeah.
Source, God, the universe,
Uh-huh.
myself, my
Yeah.
soul, like it was a really kind of beautiful and gentle thing, for
Mhm.
me. But I was alone. So I wrote this book because I thought not everyone can afford to come to us for healing sessions and things. And I wanted people to have something that was affordable. It's less than $10 for the ebook
Mhm.
that they could use and it's about my journey, but also there's journal prompts at the end that help you to reflect on how does this relate to what I'm going through and what was part of my
Mhm.
experience. Just sometimes reflection is such a powerful tool.
Yes, definitely. And so when you were going through this process, was there anyone like a teacher, a book, anyone that you were looking to as a guide in this dimension? Like
I
a,
read, yeah, I read so many books. I read all the books.
yeah.
I read all the books. Any author that was on Super Soul Sunday, I read.
Yeah. Me
So,
too. That's what got me like really,
yeah,
it's like, oh gosh, I got to read this one. I got to read
I
this one.
was such a sponge.
Yeah.
It was like a sponge phase where I was just absorbing all of this wisdom from all these people. And it was like going through a buffet line and just kind of taking what resonated and then letting the rest of it go. Like I
Mhm.
didn't really worship someone or just go all in and following someone. It was just like every book was an offering and whatever resonated is what I kind of took in. And I think the gift of, even though it's difficult to walk the path alone, was I didn't have anyone telling me what to believe or how to do this or what to read or what to think. I had to rely on my own inner compass, and
Yeah.
that has been a really pivotal piece of my process is always trusting my own inner knowing and listening to my my feelings,
Mhm.
my vibration. Like my body will tell me this is a yes or a no, or this is true, this is not true. Even if the
Great.
world believes it, if for me it's a no, it's a no. you know, a lot of
Yeah,
people
I
hear
love
this
that.
for a long time, you know.
Yeah, I know, and that can create so many challenges, as we've seen the last 5 years of people. deciding to go against the grain and be like, this is what I believe. It keeps happening over and over. I feel like in the last 5 years, it's like um, there's so many people that can't deal with that person that says, no, actually, you all go that way, but I'm going to go this way.
Well, I
Like,
think
what?
there's such a need for people to belong,
Yeah,
but we need to belong to ourselves first and foremost. We need to
totally.
trust and honor what we believe and what we know. And something that I've really learned along this journey is there are people having different realities and experiences in every bandwidth and gradient of frequency. So if you're operating in FM, right, and your neighbor's operating in AM bandwidth, you're having a very different experience.
Hmm.
And the realities are different because of where you are. And it's not better or worse. It's just the frequency you're holding. There is a vibrational disconnect and discordance.
Right.
And when I understood that concept, I realized that we're all souls coming here for a human experience to express ourselves. And everybody's choosing their own individual experience. And that's their right to have different opinions and to choose things that are unconventional or not maybe what you would choose, to struggle, to have trauma, to have um, difficulty in life,
Hmm.
to be homeless. Like everybody gets to choose their path. And who am I to say, no, this is the way for me. And I can light a torch and be a guide for people who resonate, but that's not going to be the path for everyone. And
Hmm.
it's okay. And also, I realized not everybody's here to ascend in this lifetime. Maybe they're here for that lesson and that experience, and they'll transition and come back wiser and maybe choose a different experience.
Hmm.
So I've just become more accepting.
Yeah, that's a great place to be, to not feel triggered by the differences, right? That you don't agree with. It can be a really unhappy, unbalanced place to be when you're constantly not agreeing with how other people are living their life and it's triggering you because you think everybody should live how you live.
Right.
It's not a
Also,
happy life.
right, but also we have to know what we have control over too,
Yeah, right. There's
right?
bigger
And then make our
picture.
choices based on that. Do I have control over that? If the answer is no, then why am I going to invest my energy in that? I
Hmm.
need to invest my energy in myself and my dreams and my life and the things that I do have control over. And
Yeah.
discernment's such a big piece, right? Like, how much should I engage? Should I
Mhm.
answer the text? Maybe not today, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
Maybe not, maybe never. It's just discernment is such a big piece of it, right?
Yeah. So what was it like on this journey? So did you have any growing up, you grew up Catholic,
Mhm.
I mean forced into it, but was there any kind of spiritual inklings or downloads going on before you reached this one moment where,
Well, I did have this experience in 2009. I kept having this feeling that I should have a psychic reading. Now, I wasn't into that, but this was a very persistent feeling. And I didn't know anything about spirituality or anything, what that meant. I thought it was kind of like a tarot reader, like they read your palm and
yeah,
you're gonna have
yeah.
a great life and you pay them $50 and there you go. So anyway, it just kept pressing like more and more to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I thought, well, I'll go, sure. Asked around, somebody said, oh, I know someone. So I go and I think it's gonna be like, so I think she charged like $75 and she would just talk to you for as long as she got information. Okay, I was like, sure. how much could there be?
Yeah.
So I go in there and the candles are lit and she goes, this woman, since you booked 4 days ago, has been here. A small woman. Her name's Agnes. Okay, that's my grandma who had died.
Oh,
Her
wow.
name's Mary Agnes, right? Grandma
Oh,
Mary.
that's so cool.
And I'm like, I think that was my grandma. And she goes, well, there is a line of people here to see you. Well, what I did not realize was I had booked with a psychic medium. I didn't even know what that was. I didn't even know you could talk to your dead relatives. Like, I was like, I
Wow.
wanted to run. I wanted to go, but I had paid my money. And so I sat down and tried not to freak out.
Hmm.
3.5 hours. And there was
Whoa.
more. There was more. I had to go get my kids. It was a half day of school. It was a Wednesday. And I said, I have to go. She goes, there's more to tell you. And I said, I gotta go. I'll come
Whoa.
back another time. Apparently, there was a lot of information that needed to be shared, and it cracked me open like, what the heck? I
Wow. The fact
never,
that she even had the energy to go on that long.
that was her
You got
thing.
it
I
from
mean,
spirit.
I don't
Wow.
think most sessions that was kind of a one-off. Like, of course, most of her sessions didn't go 3.5,
Mm.
4 hours, right? It'd be like a normal reading. Apparently,
Wow.
I had to learn a lot. I was being um, brought up to speed or just kind of cracking my consciousness open, you know?
Wow. So you went away with some deep insight, I assume if it was.
Well, a lot of things that I didn't think, like my grandparents who had passed came, all of them, and had messages for my parents. And I, I was like, okay, what asked me to go to this brand new church that my grandmother described perfectly that had just been built. That wasn't a normal shaped church. It was like wood and it was circular and it was gorgeous and it was like close to my house. And so the medium is like, the church, that new one, she wants to go and light a candle for her. And it's round, it's wood, it's beautiful, it's new, it's very close to your house. I'm like, I know the one. Like
Wow.
such precise detail. I was like, wow, there's something
Whoa.
really uncomfortable about all of this, but I can't deny the truth of what is being shared. So that was, now I've moved so far beyond
Hmm.
that little opening, but yeah, so I have had a few experiences like that have just
Hmm.
cracked me open.
Wow. Amazing. And so what is it like at this point in your journey with your work? Like, what are you
Well,
doing in your work that is aligning with other people that come to you?
well, I find that as I raise my frequency, the potential of what I'm able to offer changes. So I work a lot with this, with the light body, with the soul. Um, it's so unique. Like whatever each person needs is what happens. So the person is awake, that we call the soul forward, and we just begin. And every session is so different. Sometimes we're removing programs like fear programs, or I'm removing programming because that's what it is.
Hmm.
And it kind of frees people. I'm removing, um, or sometimes we heal trauma, back soul trauma, right? So the lifetimes that the soul has had and trauma that came maybe thousands of years ago in an inception point event, trigger event, will go back. The soul will take us back and will alchemize the energy and heal that all the way forward through the soul lineage. Because the soul keeps reincarnating to try and heal these traumas, and it's very difficult because they keep creating more karma and more trauma. But the world has changed now, and I think that karma system and that karma wheel has completed. Like people don't have to go back anymore and learn
Yeah,
the lessons and rehash it all.
I was going to ask you because I've heard a few channelers talk about that, how the karma is
The
ending.
karma, the karma wheel is completed, and that was a very difficult experience for humanity because there were binds that were created and ties to other souls that you couldn't break free of unless you were able to heal and clear the karma. And so it was very, very difficult because it was a very unconscious time. And the planet was existing in a very low density. So the energies were very heavy, and there was just tremendous opposition and patriarchy and systems of siphon, energy siphon and control and manipulation of humanity
Hmm.
under the illusion of freedom, right?
Yeah.
And so it was very difficult to break free. But now our beautiful planet and humanity is ascending. And as we raise our frequencies, those things are no longer in resonance. So things that aren't in resonance are not going to be able to hold water as we, every energy works in resonance. So if you raise your frequency, your experience is going to match that frequency. And if you don't, your experience is going to match that frequency, right?
Right.
But as a collective, we've kind of tipped the scales. So the frequency and vibration on Earth is rising. So that's why we're seeing so much disclosure. The false is being revealed, the veils are falling. People have been reconnected within themselves to their Christ consciousness connection, their DNA upgrades and light body upgrades have been happening for humanity so they can hold higher light. So much is happening, and that's why people are really struggling because truth is finding them. And if you have been, like I was, living a very unconscious life, when you know things in your soul, you have to begin to make choices that align,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So it's tough. It's tough for people.
Yeah. I know there's so many people living unaligned to their soul because they're scared of making a change, scared of upsetting their family. And then they're like, there comes the breaking point, like you went through, where it's like, you can't do this anymore.
I'll tell you, if you don't live aligned and true to your authentic self, and you're not willing to do it on your own, the universe is going to do it for you.
Mhm.
It
That's
is
so
going to
true.
strip everything away, and
Hmm.
it's going to be more aggressive and more painful because you are going to be hit by the 2x4 because you didn't have the courage to do it on your own.
Right.
That's how it works.
Yeah,
And
totally.
that's where,
Getting the
where we
message.
are
Yeah.
right now. So choices have to be made.
Hmm.
And this is about sovereignty. This is about soul sovereignty. It's about owning and claiming yourself and your power and your knowing and stepping into your power and purpose. Every soul comes here with a purpose. It's not always a grand purpose. It might be just to live your best life and model that for someone. It might be to live courageously. It might be to heal from a disease and self-heal. I mean, there's a million paths, right? A million ways of following your inner
Hmm.
soul purpose. Could be baking, could be sharing codes by being joyful. Like there's a million things, right? It doesn't look like a career. A career is what you do.
Hmm.
Soul purpose is who you are.
Yeah, totally. No matter what your career is, just being aligned with your soul is what
Yeah.
matters the most.
I mean, I've been lucky, right? Because my work totally aligns with who I am.
Yeah, and so when did you start your journey with this work?
2016, 9 years ago, I started this journey and I didn't believe who I was. I thought that these types of gifts are only for special, chosen, right? But
Mm-hmm.
every single person when they awaken and remember who they are, they have the gifts of self-healing. They have the gifts of intuition and sight. They have the gifts of telepathy. They have the gifts, all of the things are accessible. But I think it's going to take a little while for people to rub the sleep out of their eyes and really embrace themselves and their knowing,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of programming that needs to be, literally unwound.
Mhm.
And it's difficult to choose ourselves because we're taught that that's selfish.
Exactly. Yeah. I tell that to my students. Most of my students are kids. I tell them when I was your age, it was called vanity or conceited.
Right. And that was frowned upon. Like, you don't go talking about
If I gave any love to myself, people are like, gosh, that girl thinks she's all that.
is, or if you went against the wishes of your parents or your culture, it takes so much courage. It takes so much courage, but I
Does.
encourage every single person to own and claim themselves, because you will find joy in your life.
Hmm.
And it comes at a price. You do have to let go of people and jobs and things that aren't in resonance. They're holding you back. They're holding you
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. But ultimately, what we do for our highest good is going to be for everyone around us, their highest good as well. And that's something that a lot of people, and I know when I was married, I didn't think about that until the end. It was like, I
Right.
have to do this, not just for me, but for my ex-husband, for my daughter, everyone else that's going to, around me, that's going to learn these lessons of why I have to
Yeah.
leave. I can't stay to protect everybody's feelings.
I
It's
did
just,
the same thing. I did the same thing. And
mhm,
it came down to this for me. I'm here to participate in the shift. That's why I came into this life. I'm here to serve many.
mhm,
And I can't allow the opinions of four people in my family or five people to keep me from doing my life's work because they don't agree or approve of it.
right.
They can have their feelings about it. I'm not obligated to not show up for my all the people I'm here to serve in my lifetime
Mhm,
because four or five people don't agree with who I am and what I do,
right.
you know?
And that's when you know your soul's leading.
Always,
I love
always.
it. I love it. So, what's something that you do every day or almost every day that helps you feel connected to source and balanced in this 3D world?
I really pay attention to my energy. Like the first thing I do when I wake up is I just read my field. I see where I'm at. I am very discerning about what I invite in. The main thing I do is I create space to hear myself, whether that's in a sea salt bath or walking or doing a little yoga or just being really present with myself. I'm very, very connected to my energy field, so I can tell if something that doesn't belong is trying to enter my field. I get rid of it. My home is very energetically clear. I'm just super mindful of what I invite in, and I'm super aligned in what I know does not belong. So anything that's not clear and aligned with me, I remove.
Hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
A tuning in, something that we've all numbed ourselves from. Our Many people are still numbing themselves and not feeling that.
We have to trust what we get too.
Yeah, yeah,
Because a lot of people know that they should be doing this. They're getting this strong hit, and then they go the opposite
right.
because of, unworthiness, or they don't believe in themselves, or they don't think, oh, what are people going to think? That they might think I'm crazy if I quit this great paying job that is soul crushing and I go and like follow my passion.
Yeah, totally. It's hard.
So we got to trust ourselves, right?
Definitely. one of the biggest things that we can do for our life. So, well, thank you, Wendy. We can wrap this up now. I'm so thankful that you came on today and shared your light with the world. Where can everybody find you?
Well, you can find me on so many platforms, right? I'm on all the social media. Well, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but my website is alinealifecoaching.com. It's ALIN as in Nancy, EA lifecoaching.com. And that has my podcast and my book. And I have a Oracle, Soul Power Oracle deck
Oh,
that I
cool.
created to support the journey. It's also an app, Undeckable.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to show you. It's this.
Great.
It's the Soul Power Oracle.
Oh, I love it.
So it's all lions, and you can go on the app, and it allows you to shuffle and
Oh,
things like
cool.
it's the app is awesome because it's just on your phone. But I also have hard decks. But you can find everything there, alinealifecoaching.com.
Okay, I'll put it in the show notes below.
Thank
So,
you. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation
yes,
today.
me too. It's great to connect, and maybe one day when I'm in Houston, we can connect in person.
Absolutely. You need to definitely give me a call if you journey down. I hope you
Yes,
do.
yes. I go from time to time, so I'll let you know. All
Thank
right,
you.
Wendy. Thank you so much.